Good morning to all. Today our topic discussion topic is on drugs used in bronchial asthma. Bronchial. So the objective of today's session is at the end of the session you should know about what is definition of bronchial asthma, what are the characteristic features of asthma, and what are the triggering factors inducing asthma, and classification of anti-asthmatic drugs and mechanism of action. At the end, overall summary of today's session. So definition of bronchial asthma is bronchial asthma is an allergic as well as an inflammatory disorder characterized by hyperresponsiveness of airways due to external stimuli. So this results in narrowing of air tubes, that is thickening, and there is an airways obstruction and increase in the mucosal secretion and mucosal edema. So if you see the diagrammatic representation of airways in normal as well as asthma, if you see the in asthmatic patient, uh, you can see there is a bronchoconstriction. This could be due to increase in the mucus secretion or because of due to inflammation. There is various factors involved here. Then what are the symptoms of asthma? The patient will complain the coughing, and they'll have the wheeze. The patient will complain the chest tightness and shortness of breath. So these are the some of the symptoms of bronchial asthma. So if you see the causing causes or triggering factors, the most important triggering factors that could be due to an allergen or because of domestic dust mites or air pollution, certain smoking of cigarette, particularly tobacco smoking, occupational irritants, and certain insecticides, cockroaches, and the animals with fur such as dogs and cats. Okay, they can with their fun also patient may these are the triggering factors for asthma and pollen. There are some other rare conditions where a drug can also mean it can induce asthma, such as drugs such as aspirin, beta blockers, and such as opioid drug morphine, which can also be triggering the asthmatic attack, and certain viral infections, certain chemical irritants can also cause the are the triggering factors for asthma. If you see the asthma pathogenicity and its types, it is mainly of two types, extrinsic asthma and intrinsic asthma. In extrinsic asthma, that could be ectopic, that could be an occupational that mediate IgG and bronchopulmonary aspergillus IgE, whereas intrinsic asthma that could be due to a drug induced or infection induced. If you see the pathophysiology of asthma on exposure to any allergen, the IgG antibodies are synthesized in the body. These Ig antibodies are binds to mast cells. On activation of these mast cells that releases a mediators of inflammation. This mediators that includes histamine, which is a potent vasoconstrictor, prostaglandins, leukotrienes. These formed mediators will cause bronchoconstriction, and there can also increase in the mucovascular leakage. Then in the next subsequently there is a exclusion of plasma. Early or intermediate release of histamine can leads to bronchospasm, whereas late phase of release of leukotrienes or prostaglandins, which can cause inflammation. On chronic inflammation, this may cause structural changes to the bronchus. So these extrinsic asthma mostly episodic, and it can cause less prone to status asthmaticus, whereas intrinsic asthma, that is the etiology is unknown. There is a chance of developing into status asthmatic condition. This is the general pathophysiology where a triggering factors such as allergen, exercise, excessive exercises, cold air, okay, certain dust particles, allergen factors, and viral infections, they induces inflammation. They induce the inflammation. Whenever there is an inflammation, that will causes the hyper responsiveness in the bronchial smooth muscles. So that will causes the more secretions, more inflammatory mediators of release, such as histamine, bradykinin. They causes the narrowing of bronchial smooth muscles, narrowing of the bronchioles, that is causing a symptoms of cough, wheeze, and dyspepsia. So this is a clear diagrammatic representation where the mast cells, which release the mediators of inflammation. These mast cells contains a bodies. Whenever there is an allergen has been released into the body in the first exposure, second exposure, there will be development of IgE antibodies. The same allergen, when it enters in the re-exposure, this will come and bind a form a complex. This complex will mediate as the release of inflammatory mediators such as inflammatory mediators, which such as prostaglandin, histamine, leukotrienes. They causes the potent bronchoconstriction. So certain anti-asthmatic drugs, which are mast cell stabilizers, sodium chromoglycate, these drugs, what they block the binding of allergen to the IgE antibodies, so that they indirectly prevent the release of mediators of inflammation. So this is the general classification. We can classify the drugs into bronchodilatators, those drugs that causes bronchodilation, dilatators, and drugs that that control the inflammation, that mainly corticosteroids. In sympathomimetic drugs can acting shorter acting drugs are there, and a longer acting drugs. Shorter acting drugs such as salbutamol, adrenaline, whereas longer acting drugs are terbutaline and formoterol. Then methylxanthines such as theophylline, aminophylline, choline and hydroxyethyl theophylline. These are have similar mechanism of action such as sympathomimetic drugs, where sympathomimetic drugs mediate their action by mediating beta 2 receptor, whereas methylxanthines, they inhibit an enzyme which is responsible for the degradation of cyclic AMP levels. More the cyclic AMP level formation, more there will be bronchodilation. Then coming into the anticholinergic drugs, these anticholinergic drugs, though they are not, they are very effective in the treating in COPD, where the vagal tone is more predominant. They These anticholinergic drugs such as atropine, they block the M3 receptors present in the bronchioles. By blocking the M3 receptors, they prevent the binding of ACH to the M3 receptor. By preventing the binding of ACH to the M3 receptor, they prevent the bronchoconstriction. Coming into the leukotriene antagonists such as montelukast, gefrilukast, they are the potent antagonist of leukotrienes, which are responsible for the bronchoconstriction. And mast cell stabilizers such as sodium chromoglycate, metochromil, and ketotifen. Then corticosteroids are further, they are divided into two types: systemic corticosteroids as well as inhaled corticosteroids. Systemic corticosteroids such as hydrocortisone, prednisolone, whereas inhaled corticosteroids such as beclomethasone, dipropionate, fluticasone propionate. Coming to the individual mechanism of action of sympathomimetic drugs, these drugs, they mediated bronchodilation by increasing the cyclic AMP formation, thereby causing the muscle relaxation. Increase in the cyclic AMP formation causes the which involve in the bronchodilation. In addition to increase in cyclic AMP levels in mast cells and other inflammatory cells, mediators, they decreases the mediators release. So this is the diagrammatic representation. So you know that in lungs, beta 2 receptors are located, which are activated by beta 2 agonist. When they activated beta 2 agonist, they increases the intracellular cyclic AMP level. They increase in intracellular cyclic AMP levels, which is causing the bronchial smooth muscle relaxation. If you see adrenaline, which act on both alpha 1, beta 1, and beta 2, they cause prompt action but very short lasting bronchodilators. Whereas ephedrine, which act on beta 1 and beta 2 and also alpha, they are used for mild cases developing bronchodilators where the action lasts for 3 to 5 hours. Whereas isoprenaline, which act as on beta 1 and beta 2 agonists, they cause prompt and marked bronchodilation, causing action is for 1 to 2 hours. Salbutamol, which is a highly selective beta 2 agonist, they are also a cardiac, they induce a, such as cardiac side effects are less prominent. The inhaled salbutamol produce bronchodilation within 5 minutes and last for 2 to 4 hours. They are used to abort or terminate the attacks of asthma, but it is not suitable for round the clock prophylaxis. Then coming into the side effect, since the important side effect of salbutamol, they induce muscle tremors, palpitation, restlessness, nervousness, and throat irritation and ankle edema. This could be due to present of beta 2 receptors in the smooth muscle. So the patient, so some patients may develop the muscle tremors and palpitation. In metabolism, they all the orally used drugs are undergone metabolism 50%, whereas oral salbutamol acts for 4 to 6 hours and it is safer than isoprelin but similar in efficacy. If you see the use dose, it is 2 to 4 mg orally and 0.25 to 0.5 5 mg IM. Terbutaline, which is having similar action of salbutamol, such as increasing the cyclic AMP levels. It is a longer acting beta 2 agonist. The dose is 5 mg orally and 0.25 mg subcutaneously and 250 microgram by inhalation. You can see the salbutamol nebulization medication that can be done by both mouthpiece or by mask. Then salmeterol, which is a first longer acting and a selective beta 2 agonist, which is having a very slow onset of action, more beta 2 selective than salmeterol. Maintenance therapy, it is mainly used for nocturnal asthma attacks, but not for an acute attacks, since it is because of slow onset of action. Formoterol, which is another important beta 2 agonist, this action lasts for 12 hours. When inhaled compared to salbutamol, it has a faster onset of action, that is within that 10 minutes. And it is used regularly in morning or even schedule for round the clock bronchodilation activity. Then coming into the methyl xanthines, these are the drugs which are having a lower therapeutic index. They also like bronchodilators such as beta 2 agonists. They also increases the cyclic AMP levels. So by inhibiting an enzyme phosphodiesterase enzyme, which is responsible for the cleavage of cyclic AMP levels. They are been extensively used in asthma but they are not the first line drugs more oftenly used in COPD. If you see their mechanism of action, they inhibit the histamine release and other mediators. They inactivated inflammatory cells. Mechanism of action is inhibition of phosphodiesterase enzyme 4. It enhances the adrenaline induced cyclic AMP accumulation, thereby causing bronchodilation. They also block adenosine receptor, where the contraction of smooth muscle and intestine secretions. This is the mechanism of action of theophylline. They inhibit activity of phosphodiesterase 3 and enzyme, thereby increasing cyclic AMP level, thereby causing bronchial relaxation. Increase in cyclic AMP levels cause cyclic AMP levels. Then they also inhibit the cell's surface receptor of adenosine. Now coming into the anticholinergic drugs, the anticholinergic drugs mainly ipratropium bromide and tiotropium bromide are very commonly used anticholinergic drugs. These anticholinergic drugs are more effective in COPD, and they mediate bronchodilation mechanism by blocking the M3 receptor where they are present in the bronchial smooth muscle. These M3 receptors are got stimulated by ACH and a neurotransmitter in case of parasympathetic nervous system. When these are stimulated by M3 receptor by using a acetylcholine, they mediate bronchoconstriction. The anticholinergic drugs such as ipratropium bromide and tiotropium bromide, they block the M3 receptors so that the acetylcholine won't bind to this receptor, so that they mediated bronchodilation. It is having a better response to asthmatic and COD patient. In COD patient, there is a more vagal tone. So tiotropium bromide has more efficient efficacy in COPD than asthma, and it is also a very effective drug in elder patient and those patients having an acute attacks of asthma. So coming into the leukotriene antagonist, the drugs that include montelukast and gefilukast. These leukotrienes are the important mediators that are produced by macrophages, eosinophils, and other inflammatory cells in lungs. These leukotriene antagonists are important mediators of bronchial asthma. So once the leukotrienes are formed, they are involved in the inflammation, stimulating inflammatory mediators. So that is causing, thereby causing bronchoconstriction. So these montelukast and gefilukast, which are leukotriene antagonists, they prevent the binding of uh, to their receptors so that they mediate bronchodilation, inflammation suppression, and reducing the sputum of eosinophil count. So this is the mechanism action. See, there is a cell damage, there formation of arachidonic acid. This from arachidonic acid, there is a two pathways that mediate. One is the pathway that is mediated by 5-lipoxygenase, that mediate 5-lipoxygenase, and the other pathway, cyclooxygenase pathway. Here, the those mediating 5-lipoxylase, there will be the formation of leukotrienes. The formed leukotrienes will bind to the receptors, and that is causing the bronchoconstriction as well as causing the inflammation. Coming into the uses of this montelukast or gefilukast, they are used in mild to moderate asthmatic attacks. In severe asthmatic attacks, they are been usually given in combination with a inhaled corticosteroids for their additive effect. They are also very effective asthmatic drug in exercise asthma and also in aspirin-induced asthmatic attack. The important side effect of these leukotrienes are the patient may develop headache, rash, eosinophilia, and neuropathic pain. Then coming into the mast cell stabilizer, Mast cell stabilizers such as sodium chromoglycate. As I earlier discussed the mechanism of action, mast cells which are which undergo degranulation when the allergen binds to the IgE antibody. So once they are bind to the IgE, there will be a degranulation. In degranulation, there will be release of histamine, bradykinin, prostaglandins. These are the potent bronchoconstriction and mediators of inflammation, thereby involving in a bronchospasm. So the drugs which are given in a metadrol inhalation, 2 puffs for 4 days. Uses are this of mast cell stabilizers are they are bronchial asthma. They improve the lung function. They are not used in acute attacks, but they are used in prophylaxis and they are used in allergic. Apart from that mast cell stabilizer, they also use allergic rhinitis and allergic conjunctivitis. They are used for prophylaxis. The important point to be noted is these mast cell stabilizers, because of availability of better available drugs, the use has been restricted. They are used mainly used in the prophylaxis. Then coming into the other important drug, ketotofen, which is a similar action of chromoglycate. It is not a bronchodilatator but produce sedation. They reduce the respiratory symptoms in bronchial asthma. Coming to the important drugs, corticosteroids, they are also considered as controllers of inflammation. They are can be given in both can be given in both inhalation form as well as the systemic form. The main they mediated effects are decreases the cytokine synthesis in the mast cell, macrophages, and T lymphocyte. They also decreases the number of eosinophils and mast cells and dendrite cells. They also reduce the influx of eosinophil in lungs, thereby decrease the release of inflammatory mediators. They also decreases the vascular permeability, thereby decreasing the leak and decreasing the edema, thereby decreasing the secretion from the submuscular mucosal glands. So the main use of corticosteroids in asthma is to control the inflammation. So that is achieved by decreasing cytokine synthesis in the mast cell, decreasing the number of eosinophils, decreasing the influx of eosinophils in the lungs, by decreasing the vascular permeability and also decreasing the secretions of mucosal glands. So this is the overall mechanism of action of corticosteroids. In asthma, there is an inflammation and hyper responsiveness of airways. Anti-inflammatory drugs such as corticosteroid, they reduce the inflammation and hyper responsiveness of bronchial smooth muscles. That results in the reduction of mucosal edema, bronchial hyperactivity, as well as inflammatory action. And coming into the side effect of corticosteroids, particularly inhaled corticosteroids, they can they causes the harshness of voice, sore throat, and oropharyngeal candidiasis. So whenever you are prescribing these corticosteroid, inhaled corticosteroid, you should instruct the patient to gargle it thoroughly. So in order to avoid the complications of oral pharyngeal candidiasis. And another thing is a long-term use of higher dose, more than 600 microgram. It should be the cautions that the dose should not, there should not be an apparent stoppage of corticosteroids, because if you stop the apparent usage of corticosteroid, the patient there will be a HP axis irregulation will be seen. Dysregulation can cause. So the drug should be trapped slowly and progressively. Then, so overall, today summary of today's my session is in bronchial asthma. We use two types of drugs. One is drugs that causes bronchodilation and drugs that controls the inflammation. If you see the uh, pathophysiology of asthma, asthma is in a hyper responsiveness of trachobronchial smooth muscle to a variety of stimuli. So there will be an inflammation. Because of inflammation that can leads to bronchospasm. So for acute attacks of asthma, beta 2 agonists are very effective drug. It has been proved to be very effective drugs because of their vasodilation property. Where for drugs that for controlling of asthma, we use corticosteroids, which are very effective anti-inflammatory drugs. And if you see the mechanism of action of beta 2 agonist, they increases the cyclic AMP levels. So increasing the cyclic AMP levels causing the more the bronchodilation. Coming into the other leukotriene antagonist, montelukast and gefrulucas, they are being used as they are used effectively, and they are having a additive effect when we give in a combination with the inhaled corticosteroid in attacks of asthma. So with this, I conclude today's my session. Thank you all.